Hi everybody, this is Soraya and today is May the 12th, 2023, and I thought I'd make this video because I have a significant memory every May the 12th, and particularly of a memory of May the 12th, 2003, which is 20 years ago today. So I was living in and working in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia in 2003. I was a teacher at the British School of Saudi Arabia and I had gone there to take a contract to work at the school in 2002. So I'd started there in August 2002. And I'd gone there with my brother, who was also a school teacher. So you have to know that living in Saudi Arabia at that time was a difficult time. It was especially challenging for women because women were not allowed to drive. We had to wear black from head to foot. There was nowhere to go except shopping malls, and that was it. So, it was a pretty hardcore time, but on the opposite side, because of that, we were very close knit expatriate community, and I made such amazing friends there, and of course met my husband there. So like everything, there are pros and cons, this and that, extremes, and that's how it was. Anyway, so I got there in August 2002, and then the bombings were in May of 2003. But leading up to that, life had become pretty difficult, more difficult, because of the terrorist attacks that were taking place. So the British school was a big, thriving, over 1,000 pupil school. I taught 5-6-year-olds. My brother taught 15, 16-year-olds. It was a big, full school with lots of teachers and lots of students. And it was a beautiful setting. We had the school and, the grounds. And attached to that school was a really beautiful compound where people lived. But we didn't live there as teachers. We were living in different compounds when we got there, and we had to take the school bus would pick us up in the morning and bring us to the school, and the school bus would take us back to where we were living in the evenings. And this was going on, for the time that I lived there. And then because things started to heat up a little bit in 2003, like there were attacks, there were killings, bombings, and the school thought that it would be safer to move its teachers to the Alhambra compound that was attached to the British school. And we were very excited about that because it was a very beautiful 5-star compound. So, and it means we didn't have to catch the school bus every day. We could just walk to the school if you were a teacher living there. So all kinds of people lived on this complex. People from embassies that worked there, people from businesses, companies, all kinds of nationalities. It was a very mixed compound. Anyway, on the morning of May the 12th, 2003, we went to school, taught all day. I think I taught a yoga class that evening. And then later in the evening, my brother, Brian, who was there, said, "Hey, I want to go shopping," because we just moved into these new apartments at Alhambra. "I want to go shopping. Do you want to come with me?" And it was late at night, so the shopping centers would close for prayer, and then they would open late at night. So maybe it was like 9 o'clock at night we went shopping. He wanted to buy some plates or cutlery or something, I don't know. So we went down to the local shopping center, and I was lucky because I was with my brother, so it was a family member, that I was allowed to drive in his car with him. He was the only person other than our school driver that I was legally allowed to drive with. So I went with Brian and we went to the shops and bought our stuff, and we came back about 11 p.m. So there was just one like guy on the gate, let's say a guard, not a guard, not compared to what happened afterwards, but that you had to like drive in through a security guard, maybe not, he wasn't armed, and you just show your ID or your pass, your Alhambra pass to them. So it's about 11 o'clock at night and Brian and I drive in. He had a Jeep Wrangler. We drove in and we drove around the compound to where we lived, pulled in, said goodnight, went into our separate apartments, and within minutes of being in the apartment, there was, loud noise. And the had just come in, and of course we'd been on alert for quite some time. So I thought, that is gunfire outside. And so I went into the hallway between my living room and the bedroom or the bathroom or something. There was a hallway, and I went there. And so the gunfire went by, but I was protected in this hallway. Other people who maybe had been sleeping, who didn't really know what was going on that night, who maybe were not so awake, actually went to the windows to see what the noise was, and that's how a lot of people got hurt that night. Anyway, so there was a gunfire going past, and then shortly afterwards, seconds, minutes, not sure, massive explosion, buildings, windows. That happened. So when things had quietened down, like a few minutes later, people were started to, come out of their apartments and see like what the heck is going on. And long story short, the school teachers that were there gathered, made our way to the British school grounds, and none of the British school staff were badly injured, so few. And we waited there, and then we were told what had happened, that the suicide bombers had driven into the complex. They had shot the 2 Pakistani guards that were at the gate, driven around the compound shooting their rifles, and then parked themselves into the center of the compound and blew the car up, and that's what happened. Anyway, so the next day, the British Embassy got us all back home to our relevant towns. So Brian and I were evacuated back to Bradford, Yorkshire, England, where we had come from, and it was shocking. Yeah, we were in shock. So we gave newspaper reports and what have you, but it was a very shocking time. Anyway, fast forward a few months, and the British schools was wanting to reopen. So they had kept in contact with all their staff, and they had written to us all and said, we want to rebuild the British school, and we understand that you might not want to come back because we're going to be living right there on the bomb site. Anyway, my brother and I decided, yes, we are going to go back. I don't know, I just had this feeling that, yes, we wanted to rebuild the school, and anyway, that's what happened. So, in August then of 2004, a few of us teachers did return to the British school and did start to rebuild the school, and we lived on that compound, and I every day had to walk past that rubble. And we reopened the school with very few families. And what do I remember about that time? I remember what it was like to feel long-term fear. So you can imagine we were in the apartments and it would get to bedtime, sleeping time, and we'd just be there. I would just be like laying there waiting for any noise. And I remember for months and months, every night, that sense of dread and fear and palms sweating and feet sweating and being so alert. And you know, we were very supportive of each other, so if any of us heard a noise, we had agreed, if we were worried, like call each other. So that went on for months and months, and I stayed for another 5 years. And so by the time I left, of course, everything was okay. I remember at that time, you know, if I was ever somewhere and there was an unprotected parcel or bag or suitcase or anything that looked slightly dodgy, I would have to leave the building, the shop, the post office, whatever it was. Yeah, anyway, so to say what did I learn from that experience? Well, that I was meant to live. That when you get up in the morning and you think that your day is just going to go like, da, 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 this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this and then probably do this, probably do that. And then I'm going to go to bed in my bed at night. I mean, that's kind of unconsciously what we think every day. And what I learned was that is not necessarily how your day is going to go, or it's not how your day is going to end up. So for that to wake up in the morning and, you know, give thanks for a new day and go to bed at night and give thanks that your day maybe did go like that, right? And you did get to go to bed in your bed at night with a, you know, happy, untraumatic day. And that, yeah, what else did I learn? That you have no idea when you meet people what they've been through and what they're carrying. And I think as a doctor now, when I meet anybody or anybody comes into my clinic, I make no assumptions. Not even when I get to know them. I mean, you may have known me for years and have no idea about me or what I've been through and this life event. Maybe you will never know that. Maybe you wonder, how is she? Wow, she has a great life. She's carved out this great life. What's she doing? You know, maybe you don't know. So just to say, give everybody compassion and kindness, and know there's so much going on behind the scenes. And wake up every morning and be like, yay, I lived through the night. I'm awake this morning. I'm planting my feet on the ground. And when you go to bed at night, be thankful for that day. Okay, so this is the first time I've ever put these memories onto a recording. It's 20 years today since that event. I am sending my thoughts out to everybody that was at the British school at that time, that was living on that compound in Saudi Arabia, and the other 2 compounds that were simultaneously blown up, where more people were injured. So, and just to say now that Saudi Arabia is a completely different place. I have friends who work at the British school now, and they're women, and they can drive, they can have their own cars, they can wear their own clothes. You know, 20 years on, thank God, the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, and the world perhaps is a different place. So, that's that.